Welcome everybody to look at a 4K Steelbook release that came out back in 2021, and it is 1994's Speed. So this is directed by Jan de Bont, who also did Twister, which is the only other good film he did. As unfortunately then followed up this with the sequel, Speed 2 Cruise Control, which is absolutely god awful, as well as the remake of The Haunting, which is nowhere near as good as the original, and then the sequel to the first Tomb Raider film, with The Cradle of Life, which again, nowhere near as good as the first film. But it was also a really rather successful cinematographer with the likes of Die Hard, Basic Instinct, and The Hunt for Red October under his belt. So, yeah, he does have talent, but unfortunately, when it comes to his later efforts, it wasn't quite as evident. So, yeah, this is an action thriller that got in at 116 minutes long, had a budget of around between $30 and $37 million. So, not a massively expensive film, even from early 90s standards, but it had a box office return of $350.4 million. So, an absolutely massive success. So you can certainly see why a sequel was greenlit and why that sequel got an even bigger budget. But yeah, unfortunately, did not work out. Stars the likes of Keanu Reeves, who have been seen in 21 other films. He was in obviously the likes of the Matrix series, the John Wick series, as well as Constantine and Point Break. Also stars Dennis Hopper, who I've not seen in much in terms of leading roles, but he has played a crucial role in several favourite films like Red Rock West, True Romance, Apocalypse Now, Cool Hand Luke, and one of his main leading roles that I've seen him in Night Tide. He was actually really good in that as well. Also saw Sandra Bullock, who's another actor out there that you think you've seen a lot from, but unfortunately I haven't. So yeah, only real notable other roles that I've seen her in that I've enjoyed would be the likes of Demolition Man and A Time to Kill. And then you've got supporting roles from the likes of Joe Morton, who was in Terminator 2, Jeff Daniels, who was in Arachnophobia, and Alan Ruck, who was in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which is a film I've slowly begun to dislike more and more the more I've seen it. But he was also going to star in Twister. So tensions run high when a crazed bomber rigs a Los Angeles bus with a device that will kill everyone on board if the vehicle's speed dips below 50 miles per hour. So yeah, a really basic plot that could very well have easily been made more complex, but thankfully this does not do that. And this is probably my favourite action film from the 90s. While it is also probably one of the strongest film debuts from a director ever, while the action scenes are just as great as ever to watch. The cast is also excellent, the pacing is perfect, the script is well written, it doesn't overcomplicate its premise. Bomb on bus. Bomb goes below 50, blows up. The end. That's all you really need to really understand about this film. Yes, it adds elements onto that, but it does not overcomplicate that basic premise by, introducing like some kind of twist at the end or anything like that. It just keeps it as simple as that, and it really does work as a result. It's also engrossing and entertaining in equal measure. The score is amazing, the cinematography is on point, and this is arguably one of the most brutal villain deaths from a film of this era. It is also ultimately a film that shows how incredible. The sequel as well also shows how incredible this film is. As that was such a dud, but even an abomination like that can't take this practically faultless effort. So yeah, it's a full 5 out of 5 for this film, quite frankly, and yeah, it is one that I highly recommend to anyone who hasn't actually seen it, which I'm sure is getting smaller by the day, but still, an absolutely excellent effort. I like the fact that the 4K disc and the Blu-ray disc have different artworks on them as well, with the Blu-ray one showing the speedometer there on the bus that we see several times. But I also like the Steelbook artwork as well. It's easily one of my favourite looking Steelbook artworks there. So we have an amalgamation of bits from the film on the front, and then we have a reinterpretation of an actual scene in the film where Ali, played by Keanu Reeves, goes under the bus to try and disarm the bomb. So, yeah, absolutely sensational effort. I really do like how practical a lot of this actually is as well. Obviously, there are some visual effects here and there, especially when it comes to that 50-foot gap jump, which I know is probably a little bit on the ridiculous side of things and not entirely realistic, although with the help of a ramp, it did actually clear that gap and then some, to the extent that the bus actually crushed some camera equipment. So it certainly jumped further than they were expecting it to do, but in real life, it would not have made that gap without that ramp. So yeah, there is that. But there are other elements to this that are more realistic. The untimely demise of the bus itself into the plane when it blows up. That is easily one of the most spectacular explosions, practical explosions that I've ever seen. And you can tell it's spectacle because there's debris falling all over the place. You can hear the debris hitting the ground, glass, metal, and such. And yeah, it's just an absolutely beautiful looking explosion. And that is just made all the better due to this 4K release, which looks absolutely spectacular. It's also got 5.1 DTS HD master audio, so the sound of it sounds even better than ever before, especially when it does come to the action and the score in particular. And I have actually had the privilege to actually see this twice at the cinema now. Once for its 30th anniversary and once only just this weekend for a 90s film festival at my local cinema. So yeah, always a treat to revisit this on the big screen, or even just at home, quite frankly. And there's also a couple of extras on the disc as well. You got a commentary from the director as well as the writer of the film, Graham Yost, and the producer, Mark Gordon. And there's also a trailer on top of that as well. So yeah, if you still haven't somehow watched this, then yeah, I can't but highly recommend this any higher, quite frankly. Absolutely superb from beginning to end. Like I said, doesn't overcomplicate its premise whatsoever. Really doesn't feel like a near 2 hour film either. Even at the cinema, I was like, oh yeah, it's nearly over now. It's only got like 20 minutes left, and yeah, it felt like it had only been about 40 or so minutes. So yeah, it's just lightning fast in terms of the pace, and like I said, it's laser focused in terms of the plot. Doesn't try to overcomplicate things. Got really good practical effects, from explosions to a train crash that happens at the end as well. Yes, we have a bus explosion, a plane exploding, and a train crash all in one film, and yeah, but it doesn't feel overblown. It feels really, really grounded, and yeah, unlike the sequel, which yeah, really does take it overboard and literally in some respects. It's just yeah, this just shows how good of a film this actually is when you compare it to its sequel, which I could rant on forever about that sequel, quite frankly, considering how they ever came up with the idea of a cruise ship somehow being a better vehicle for an action film than a bus. I don't know. It's slower, it's more cumbersome, and it's nowhere near as able to be doing anything kind of stunt wise either. So, yeah, because all it ever really does is crash into a few boats, whereas our bus obviously crashes into numerous cars, comes across pedestrians on the street, does a massive jump, and then has to deal with a blown out tire, and then eventually crashes into a plane when everyone is finally off board, off of it. So, yeah, you can do so much more with when you actually have the right setting and the right mode of transport, which just was not the case for Speed 2. So yeah, but nonetheless, thank you for watching. If you have seen Speed, I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. But nonetheless, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.